Hi everybody, it's Joe Chaffee here. It's a Wednesday, the 13th of March, 2019. Good evening and welcome to my YouTube channel tonight, where we're watching a really monstrous storm that is sitting out in the Western Plains. The low center is in Kansas. The pressures fell completely off the wall. We were looking at pressure drops of 24 millibars in the last 18 hours or so. That's pretty rapid deepening here. This is a real powerhouse that is moving through the Great Plains and eventually heading up into the upper Midwest in a more weakened form. We're actually seeing the peak intensity of this storm right now in terms of the lowest pressure, and it's producing everything. Blizzard conditions. We've got a whole slew of blizzard warnings up tonight. If you take a look at the warnings and watches map from the Weather Service, everywhere from northeastern Colorado, a small portion of northwestern Kansas, the western half of Nebraska is either under a winter storm warning or a blizzard warning. Blizzard warnings up also through eastern Wyoming, even to the southeastern Montana, running up through the Dakotas, both South and North Dakota. And then as you go further to the east, of course, we've been talking about the fact that the big issue for the state of Minnesota is the deep snow cover, the concrete ground from the bitter cold air of the last 6 weeks. Everything's running off, so you've got flood watches up across Minnesota and also through Wisconsin and through the upper peninsula of Michigan and through the northern half of the lower peninsula. Wind is a huge issue. High wind warnings up through much of West Texas, eastern New Mexico. I did see some video of an 18-wheeler getting flipped over by a 90-mile-an-hour wind. It was not a pleasant sight to see. And going on in West Texas, skywise there right now, there are no weather issues. Severe weather was yesterday, but you've got this clear sky and these wind gusts of running at 60 to 70 miles an hour, flipping over 18-wheelers. Definitely not fun. Still a bit of a severe weather risk going on in the lower Mississippi Valley, although we don't have any severe thunderstorm watches up at the moment. And since the storm has reached its peak intensity, the severe weather threat going forward over the next couple of days will lessen as the weather front starts to push over to the east. Also seeing some periphery winter storm warning and winter weather advisories up into western Colorado and into Utah, with the wind issues going back into Nevada and Southern California. But for the most part, the weather on both coasts, both the west coast and the east coast, is relatively calm, which, when you think about it, makes a lot of sense. If you've got a big storm sitting in the middle of the country, it's going to be probably quiet on either side, though by no means is the weather can be described here in our neck of the woods as being picture perfect because of the time of year, high clouds, the cold ocean. There's all kinds of sea breeze impacts, and that's affecting temperatures, at least in coastal areas. So we'll start off with I pulled up a visible satellite from the GOES 17 of this storm center, and we've got a really tight view here. Of course, you've got the square nature of the state of Colorado and then the rectangular nature of the state of Kansas, and right in there, near the Colorado Kansas border, is the circulation center of this well-defined system, the strong upper low and surface low there. They're pretty much vertical at this point and inching its way slowly toward the northeast. And of course, you got solid overcast skies just about everywhere on this particular tight shot. I could put it into perspective with regards to the full U.S. view, and I'll bring that up for you, and you can see that what a dominant feature it is. Meanwhile, we've got all these high clouds that are getting blown off to the east across the Great Lakes and into New England, where there's going to be some snow up in parts of upstate northeastern New York and through Vermont and New Hampshire and eventually into Maine. And then out west, you've got quiet conditions for now, and then you take that arc of clouds around outside of that comma and drag it down into East Texas, and that's where you have some showers and thunderstorms that are showing up on the radar. But again, the severe weather impact is going to be diminishing going forward. And first off, the snow impact. Where the blizzard warnings are up, we're looking at, now there's already snow on the ground, so this will probably be in addition to what's already fallen. So you're looking, and some areas haven't started yet. So at the very least, we're talking a foot to a foot and a half over a large area from eastern Wyoming on up through western Nebraska, much of central South Dakota, and then it kind of tails off a little bit as you go into northeastern North Dakota and into Minnesota. This would make sense because of the fact that the storm overall is going to be weakening with time. I'm going to pull up the Storm Prediction Center stuff here. Hang on one second. And let's see what's going on here. So here's your risk area tonight from the Storm Prediction Center with regards to severe weather. I'll make it a bit bigger. That's not what it was supposed to do. There we go. So we've got a slight risk of severe in, we had enhanced risk earlier today, so they pulled the enhanced risk down and they just went to slight risk over eastern Arkansas, northwestern Mississippi, western Tennessee, and northeastern Louisiana. So that is already lower than what the Storm Prediction Center had earlier. And then with regards to the day 2 outlook, now this is for tomorrow. You've got a slight risk that extends up through the Tennessee and Ohio Valley to the lower Great Lakes. And we'll move over to the day 3 outlook, where there's no severe weather risk by the time the front reaches the East Coast. The system is going to be weakening when that low winds up moving up toward the western lakes. So that should also, as I said, lessen the impact with regards to severe weather. Take a look at what it looks like on the surface map tonight. I mean, this is really something. You've got a 968-ish low, 968 millibar low analyzed there in right on the Colorado, Kansas, Oklahoma border, right in there. And the occluded front, as the low has reached its peak intensity, so the cold front is caught up with the warm front. You've got 60s with dew points in the 60s, and then the temperatures actually drop down into the 50s as you get into parts of northwest Texas. But the gradient here is awfully tight. And then in the warm sector, you're looking at temperatures into the 70s with dew points in the upper 60s and low 70s along the Texas coast, and then running up into Louisiana, and then even poking its nose up into southwestern Arkansas. So that warm front's going to continue to lift northward as we go through the day, through the evening hours. And there's several warm fronts being analyzed here. There's another one that's up further north into southern Iowa and in through central Illinois, southern Indiana. Temperatures in the 60s, dew points in the 60s, and then you get the real tropical air when you get those dew points in the 70s. So all inside that band, you're looking at severe weather. And then, of course, you get into the colder air, and it's not really all that cold on the northwest side of this. So you're looking at temperatures that are basically in the 20s, but the radars are pretty loaded with precip. So you're getting quite a bit of snow going on in northeastern Colorado, this solid area here in the eastern part of the state. You can see where the circulation is of the surface low and of the radar echoes and the upper low, because they're all getting pretty vertical here. And you've got precip arcing back northwest into northwestern Nebraska, southeastern Wyoming, and then extending on up into the western part of South Dakota. At least as of right now, when we look at the radar profile in the severe weather risk area, we don't see any thunderstorms that have bubbled up yet. We do see some heavy showers. We'll probably start to see some thunderstorms show up in the next several hours or so. Looks like a little bit of a squall line there in eastern Arkansas that's developing. And you've got all this rain that is pushed up into northern Iowa and in through Minnesota. Some pretty heavy rains going on there. And we mentioned about the fact that the ground being so frozen up in that area that a lot of the rain is running off. You've got deep snow cover. Many areas up here haven't gone above freezing in weeks and weeks, and now for the first time they're going up above 32, and that's going to start some snow melt getting underway. So potential here for some flooding certainly exists, and the flood watches that are up are certainly justified. I did bring up one local radar here out of, this is the Cheyenne, Wyoming radar, and you can see that the snow extends down, it's right over Cheyenne, down to about Denver. I can run down, we'll go one radar straight south. Denver's been snowing heavily for hours. I don't know how much they have on the ground. I saw that they were forecasting up to about, the local office there was forecasting about 10 inches for Denver. And in fact, if you look from Denver's radar perspective, the southern part of this is starting to shrink a bit, which would make sense as the storm begins to make, slow northeastward progress. Heavy snow's probably coming in bands as it drops southward on the west side of the circulation. So really very impressive here overall with this system. And here's the regional view, kind of another tight view here. You can see the circulation center in northwest Kansas and all that precip that's gotten pulled up. The rain in Minnesota changes over to snow in western South Dakota, western Nebraska, and down into Wyoming and Colorado. So busy, busy, busy indeed with all of this. So let's look at where this is all going with our weather system. We actually have the beginnings of the new late afternoon GFS model run, and we'll scroll it back. It's not behaving itself. By the way, there's this Facebook outage that's impacting Facebook in areas along the East Coast, and it looks like it's still not back yet in most locations. So here's your deep low. Pressure starts to rise. So we're going to go from a 968 now to a 77 low by 2 a.m. and an 81 low by tomorrow morning in southwestern Iowa. And then you can see how the low just loses it loses that really intense look. And the low center runs northeast of Lake Superior towards James Bay. It's so far north that the support with the trailing cold front begins to weaken. So you can kind of see what happens with this, this severe weather. You've got this outbreak overnight in the slight risk area, and the GFS picks up on that. But then tomorrow it's kind of meh, and then as it goes toward the coast on Friday, the front really weakens, doesn't produce all that much in terms of precip. And then we get into a weekend that looks pretty good. Dry air, high pressure, still some leftover mild air on Saturday with temperatures in the 50s for our neck of the woods, eastern Pennsylvania to southern New England. And then Sunday it'll be a little bit colder with high pressure building in. But notice that the weather across the country, except for parts of Florida and extreme southern Texas, and maybe the extreme part of the northwestern part of the state of Washington, looks very calm and quiet from coast to coast. We do have a weak system dropping in on Sunday night, Monday. You can see it here. I mean, this is really a speck with low pressure that runs down into Virginia. There is a small area of snow. I would call it pretty meaningless if it's going to be falling during the daytime on Monday. It's very, very light. There's very little precip being produced here, and then that just goes out to the east. And let's quickly go through the upper air pattern for the foreseeable future, because I know the chatter that's out there, and it's the usual nonsense. I don't know what they're looking at. I don't see whatever. I mean, I know what they think they see, or what they would like to see. But I'm sorry, it's not there for me. So I'll go back one run of the GFS to make it a little easier, so you can take it further into time. And of course, we all know we've got the ridge in the east, the trough in the west, and that ridge is now going to break down. And remember, if you watched the library presentation yesterday, or if you were there yesterday, like Izzy was, and Scott Briller, and Jason Barry, and a few others, which was great to see you guys, by the way. It was nice to meet up with you face to face. We're talking all the time back and forth, either on Facebook or Patreon. So it's nice to see the human being behind the conversation. Here, watch that low that's north of Hawaii that drops southward. So that really, that is a big catalyst in shifting the pattern in the west. And of course, you've got this storm that's driving the change in the east. And by the time we get to Sunday, we've got a trough in the east and a ridge in the west. But it's not enough to have, the setup aloft. You got to have, as I said many times, when you see these things, you put so much energy into this whole, I called it today on one of my posts, the PNA worshiping party, the Positive North America Index, the PNA, with the big ridge in the west. You got to have, that's only one of many puzzle pieces, and you just don't have the other pieces there. The trough in the east is too far to the east, and the flow in the east is actually kind of on the flat side, so it's hard to get anything with any kind of force and amplitude to develop. And then as we move through later in the week, there's another short wave that drops down, but here too, you've got, at least on the GFS's view, there's a southern stream energy in the eastern Gulf, and there's a northern shortwave that's coming down. But the northern shortwave actually acts as a kicker, kicks the southern stream system out, and then the whole thing just basically gets suppressed. I just don't see how that there's any room for anything of consequence to happen for you snow lovers that are looking for one last event, because after that's done, the trough is going to lift out, and back comes the ridge in the east. And I think as we go toward the end of the month and into April, we may get some warmer weather to get into the eastern part of the United States. There's no blocking. Anything that swings down around in Canada would probably mean for just temporary quick shots of cold air that just go in and out. So honestly, barring any last minute surprises, I think we're pretty much done with snow threats, at least for the Mid-Atlantic and for southern areas of the Northeast. Northern New England is always a different story, and you can always find a way to do it up there. But unless there's some major model surprise in terms of how it's handling all of this in the next couple of days, we may just very well be over. Just wanted to I swung back to the latest GFS run to see if there's any. If it goes out far enough, and again, I'm not really seeing anything here that is knocking my socks off. So we're gradually transitioning into a spring pattern. It's going to take a bit of a break between this weekend coming up and much of next week as the pattern kind of flips for a little bit. And then I'm thinking after that, it's just going to gradually flip back to what we're seeing right now. I'm just going to come to the board real quick. It's been a long couple of days for me, folks, so I'm a little bit on the tired and starting to get a bit on the nasally side. So I'm not going to do, a long live stream tonight. Thanks, Izzy, for the kind words, by the way. Next library talk. I don't have one scheduled in New Jersey at the moment. What usually happens is when one library gets you, the other ones find out, and then they want you there too. So I'm thinking over the next couple of weeks, I'll probably hear from a couple of them, and we'll see if I could set something up. My next scheduled appearance is going to be actually in Westchester County at the Mamaroneck Library, and that is tentatively scheduled for Saturday, June the 8th. So it's a couple of months away. Saturday, June the 8th at 11 o'clock. So I'll keep you updated on that. And yes, Jason Barry, nice to meet you yesterday, and it was very much a full house. We had a lot of fun last night. I really enjoyed myself. I thought the whole environment last night was very good and very positive, and I loved the response and the questions that we got that I got yesterday. They were terrific. Robert Hurley, no traffic. I actually spent the night in Westchester. I'm working today, so I actually haven't been home in a couple of days. I'm going to head back tonight and get some sleep because it is absolutely sorely needed. Chris Alley, yeah, as soon as, usually the Long Island libraries are, I've done so many of them, but this is, I guess, one of those quiet times where I really don't have anything on the schedule at the moment, but they'll usually come through with a call at some point, so as soon as I book something on the island, I will definitely let you and everyone else know. Oh, Izzy D, thanks for hitting Super Chat tonight. And the classic lemonade, I did not drink it yet. I am saving it. I'm going to save it for a very warm day, and then I will participate. But thank you so much for that. And it's gonna go in the fridge, and it will get use at some point. I promise. If Joe comes to you, Joe comes to you, we'll have to rent a boat. I guess it's for Johnny Quest down in the mountains. Hey, you know what? There might be a drive down Route 81 at some point down the road in the next couple of months. So bear that in mind, Johnny Quest. I may come floating by in my own canoe in Western Virginia. James NASCAR fan, nice to see you on board. Timothy Veltman, Scott Briller, Chris Alley, all the regulars are here. Jason Perry and Jason Barry, who was there last night. Again, nice to meet you. It was a lot of fun. If you get a chance, if you get one of these library talks where you can come out for a couple of hours, it's a lot of fun. We cover a lot of different weather topics along the way, and everybody seems to enjoy themselves. So I really do like doing them very much. All right, going to cut it short at this point, folks. Kind of wiped out here. Mark Gladfelter, you just jumped on, and I'm about to leave. Devon Diaz, Ann Ames, keep up the programs. SCLIS, School of Information and Communication Studies. Nice. I will surely do that. Thank you. Yeah, it's time for me to just kind of nod out because I am tired. So we'll get back to regular schedule tomorrow. After a good night's sleep, I'll be able to go a bit longer. And I haven't really updated anything on Facebook because of the fact that can't get on. The system was still down. But if you're on Patreon, if you're on my Patreon platform, I did do some updates earlier today. So you might want to make sure you check those out if you haven't already. And for those of you who are interested in joining the Patreon platform, there's a link on the descriptor to this live stream, or if you're watching it on a replay on the descriptor to this video, it's just $2 a month, and you get all kinds of extra stuff, including live streams that are just for Patreon members. You can message me at any time, and I usually answer in a timely fashion. And if you are, if snow is your thing or landscaping is your thing, this might work for you. Okay, so give it a look, and thanks for those of you who are on, by the way. Many of you that are on tonight are Patreon members, and you've all said how much you like it, so I'm glad for that, and we'll be trying some new things along the way as we go through the summer and into the fall. All right, folks, have a great night, and we will see you tomorrow.